One day I went to see the Vine, and there was a bicycle parked about 2 feet away from the sculpture along a railing. And bicycles are a great invention, beautiful in their own way, but this particular bicycle was obstructing my view of the sculpture. And just as I was stewing about that situation, another guy rode up in another bicycle and parked his bike right next to the first one. And I said something to him. I said, "Do you have to park your bicycle right next to this sculpture? Can't you park it down at the other end of the railing?" And he looked at me and kept doing what he was doing. And I said, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, there's another casting of this sculpture, and it's the centerpiece of a whole exhibit. And people come from all over the world to photograph it and to look at it. It's a great work of art. And he, uh, he looked at me as though I were soliciting for a mystery cult. And he said, "I don't agree." And he finished up what he was doing and he walked into the building. And I could see him through the glass door. And I saw him walk from the hallway into through another door into this large room that happened to have a whole bay of windows that looked right out onto the courtyard, just a few feet away from the bicycles and the sculpture and me. And this room was full of people this guy's age. They looked like grad students, and they were all at work tables. And and I could see that this guy was talking, and everybody in the room turned around and looked at me, and they were laughing. And I didn't know what to do. Um, I I couldn't leave. So I just sat down on a bench. I couldn't leave. And a few minutes later, this guy and one of his buddies came out outside, and they walked right by me. They ignored me, and they went across the courtyard into another building. And a few minutes later, they came out again, and each of them was carrying a cup of coffee. And they walked by me again, and I jumped up and I said, "You know, I come from the other side of campus just to look at this statue. It's my favorite thing in the whole city. It gives me such joy to look at it." And the guy said, "You really come from the other side of campus just to look at this sculpture?" And and I said, I nodded, "Yes." And they put down their coffees and they moved their bikes. Not as far as I would have liked, but it was okay. And, and the next time I went to see the Vine, I saw the same guy through the window, and I waved hi, and he waved back, and he and his buddy came out to say hello. And and I and his name is Stephen, and his buddy's name is Houston, and they're grad students in the Department of Architecture, and uh, they're in this lab to design a model city. Maybe next time in their designs, they won't put a bicycle rack next to a beautiful sculpture. So I told them some more about the sculpture, that it was made by Harriet Frischmuth in 1923, and this full-size version was based on a little 24-inch or so statuette that she had made in 1921. And of those statuettes, 96 had been cast, and one of them had recently sold at auction for $35,000. And I told them how fortunate we were to have the life-size version right here.